over 600 million Africans are without electricity. This is a state of emergency.
Justice is a multi-award-winning Ghanaian inventor and engineer. He serves as a board member, FEL, at the World Energy Council, and he's the founder and executive director of the African Sustainable Energy Centre. Give a holistic overview of Africa's energy story.
Let's look way back into the pre-colonial era, and then we move into the 1800s, the 1950s to the 1990s, and then from the 2000s to now. Almost 40% of Africans still do not have access to electricity.
What's the Africa Sustainable Energy Centre doing to solve these problems?
Our mission is pioneering sustainable energy solutions across Africa. We have developed the frameworks for government and international bodies to look at and then to be able to help implement on the continent. We need to change the narrative from economic growth of GDP to human beings, social progress, human happiness.
What does a realistic timeline for the energy transition in Africa look like? Understanding where the continent finds itself now in this cultural moment. Hello and welcome back to CleanTalk, the podcast shining a spotlight on inspiring professionals and organisations working in and around renewable energy, clean technology and sustainability. I'm Luke, I run Harmer Visuals, a film production agency working with companies in this sector to enable climate transformation through data-driven storytelling. Today, we're in Virginia Beach in the US. I'm very excited to be travelling far again. I have the pleasure of being joined by Justice Ohene-Akoto. Justice is a multi-award-winning Ghanaian inventor and engineer. He serves as a board member, FEL, at the World Energy Council, and he's also the founder and executive director of the African Sustainable Energy Centre. Justice is going to be unpacking for us his passion and expertise for Africa's energy dynamic and their energy future. Justice, thanks for joining me on the show.
Thank you, Luke, and then thank you for having me as well.
I'd love to know a bit more about your early life and kind of what set the path for the contributions you're making to the energy sector now. Take me back to the start.
Growing up in Accra, that was yes, I was born. My dad was a military man. So yeah, I grew up in the barracks. I had an early life when your father would go to peacekeeping and then come back, that kind of euphoria and happiness. Yeah, through to going to junior high school in Ghana. You usually go through basic education, then you go to junior high school, then to senior high school. That is where it's very much important in Ghana. Almost everyone who is a Ghanaian is affiliated to the senior high school. So I had a privilege to go to Adisado College in Cape Coast, and then I continued to the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in Kumasi, where I read electrical and electronic engineering, bachelor's. And then from that, I did my national service in Ghana. After your bachelor's degree, you go into your national service. I had that with the Volta Aluminium Company Limited. Yeah, so that was basically about my early days growing up in Ghana.
How did young people respond to sort of STEM topics in your upbringing? In
Ghana, yeah, STEM was really high. So we have something that we call the National Science and Maths Quiz. So it's a way of inculcating STEM into the young ones, even from the age of 14, 15, 16. That is usually the ages when you have your secondary education. Mm-hmm. So each secondary school picks up the top 3 students, and then you battle it out. Each school faces another school on basically STEM stuff, science, mathematics, and then a little bit of engineering as well. So that is some of the teasers and some of the implementations that have been put in place at the early stage to push and then inculcate STEM into Ghanaians. Yeah, so that is one of the initiatives currently over there that is really helping. Yeah.
Excellent. Let's dive more into your university education, talking about learning engineering, bachelor's. Talk to me more about that.
Yeah, so finishing Adisado College, which is a very good school, one of the best schools in the country. I was privileged to go to Adisado. And then at the time of about finishing, we were introduced to, I was part of the Science and Maths Quiz team. Most of those who does that, they either read medicine or engineering, medicine, human biology, right? So we got some of those who has left coming back to tell us more how we should prepare ourselves for medicine, human biology, or go for engineering. I had a strong interest in engineering rather than human biology. So I decided to pursue engineering. And in choosing my courses, I was going for telecommunication engineering. And I spoke with one senior colleague who advised me to rather come for electrical and electronics. With that, I'll have the opportunity to do a little bit of telecommunication, computer engineering, and then biomedical as well. So I think that was the best advice he gave me, and I think that also really helped me till now. When you go to the universities, you notice that the electrical engineering students and the telecommunication students and the computer students do almost the same thing within the first and the second year. So it's the third and the fourth year that they split. But then with the electrical background, you'll be relevant in telecom, also be relevant in computer, and then biomedical as well. My role after school, my role as an electrical engineer, I do some telecom stuff as well. I also do computing stuff. So for me, that background gives me a lot of bandwidth, and then it was the best option for me.
A lot of the engineers we've spoken to on the show have been kind of tinkerers. They like to get involved and stuck into sort of passion projects around technology, whether it's building computers or taking farm equipment apart, all sorts of things. Where do you kind of put yourself in terms of what you get up to in your free time? Are you taking things apart? Are you building things? Have you got what one guest called a diagnostic curiosity for like understanding how things work? So what's your take?
I believe in the big picture. So in the big picture is I believe in the what I call the social engineering. I believe engineering is very much important, but mostly we see the engineers in the control rooms. And then we see the social sciences making decisions, policies for engineers. So what I believe is there should be a revolution where the engineers will also take interest in the boardrooms. So from my part, I have practiced engineering working as an electrical engineer, using PLCs, programmable logic controllers, controlling heavy devices, hot devices like the hardcore engineering. And I also found myself in the boardroom as a board member at the World Energy Council. And the difference I see over here is that I'm able to make inputs from the policy point of view and also from the practical and technical point of view. So that usually makes you, it gives you some leverage. I wouldn't say better, but it gives you more leverage because you see things from a different point of view.
Yeah.
So that is where I have positioned myself. So to be in the technical field, be relevant, and also take interest in decision making, the policy making, the boardrooms, not limiting myself to the control room.
That is a fascinating balance as well, isn't it? The business owners and the entrepreneurs that I look up to have all been people that have paired that sort of like managerial and boardroom dynamic with technical knowledge and done that really well. You know, we see it most commonly or most publicly in sort of the tech sector, but there's lots of others too. How much of an uphill struggle is it to actually do that? Because it, as you say, the status quo is that you've got engineers and then you've got the social scientists, if you will. Pairing those two together, how much of an uphill struggle is it?
I would say you have to enjoy the hustle. It's difficult, but you have to enjoy it. I have many people asking me, how did I do 3 master's degrees whilst working in the industry? I'm like, it's difficult. Yeah, but just that you have to enjoy the struggles that comes with it. Yeah. So going to work, trying to know how to, when you turn the wires, to be able to move the motor forward. And when you reverse the wires too, you reverse the direction of the motor. That is technical. But then it's in the books as well, trying to find a way to bridge those gaps. And then also when you get to the boardroom, to be able to make meaningful input on, let's say, my field, power system reliability and planning. I know what the government wants to hear is the amount of money they'll be losing or the percentage of GDP that they'll be losing as a result of power outages. So it is not just about the turning of turbines, but trying to convert the turning of turbines into what's of interest that the relevant stakeholders and the government have to know. So that is where I usually bridge the gap, telling the government that, let's say an example like Ghana, in the year 2016, Ghana lost about 4% of our GDP as a result of power outages. So now I'm not coming to tell the government, invest into this, invest into that. I'm coming to tell the government that we are going to lose. Let's say this year, I had an interview. I was telling the government that if we don't take care, Ghana is going to lose about 4% of our GDP as a result of power outages if we don't do anything about our energy situation. So that is where, yes, I try to bridge the gap between the two. But it's not easy. It is difficult. Just that you have to enjoy the hustle,
Enjoy the
or
struggle.
the struggles that comes with it, basically. Yeah.
Let's give sort of a holistic overview, if you will, of Africa's energy story. What's their history when it comes to energy?
Yeah, Africa has a very interesting one. I don't think any other continent has the same. So let's look way back into the pre-colonial era, before the 1800s. So it was very traditional, using biomass, using firewoods to provide energy, firstly for heating, for cooking, and all those stuff. Now let's move into the 1800s to independence. So around those times, most of the industrialization was done around areas where they are of interest. So the colonial masters will build roads, will build railway stations closer to industrial areas. That was that evolution. And then let's move into the 1950s to the 1980s. That was when independence started coming in Africa. Ghana, for instance, was a gateway to Africa regarding independence when Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was able to get independence for Ghana in 1950. That was when we had most of the power plants and then the dams coming in Africa. There was Akoto Dam in Ghana. That was about 588 megawatts. And then also there's this Aswan, another dam in Egypt that also came up. That we had that era. And then we move into the era from the 1980s into the 1990s. That was when there was a lot of IMF issues. So they were not able to move at the speed that they were moving after the colonial era. And then from the 2000s to now, that was when more of the green evolution was coming on board, and also introduction of energy efficiency. So you see Ghana, for instance, within the year 2006, 2007, they were changing most of our old lights, the HID lights, into the fluorescent lights.
Yep.
To increase energy efficiency. We had Nigeria coming to Ghana to learn what we were doing. My very good friend, who was by then the Director General of the Nigerian Energy Commission, mentioned that to me when they were assigned to come to Ghana to learn from each other. And then now, to this era where there's a balance between leapfrogging, we being able to go direct to renewable energy, or we trying to go steadily to move with what we have to industrialize before we look at the next stage. So this has been the historical background of the African energy sector.
Can you unpack for me the kind of relationship between Africa and other continents and regions and the ways they've developed and industrialized, and what challenges and opportunities that's presented?
Yeah, so like as I was saying earlier, the African one has been unique. So an example, during those eras, we had most of the African resources, the oil, the coal, being exported to support industrialized activities in the Western world. And then now, Africa is at a point where energy access is a challenge. We have just about over 600 million Africans who are without electricity, without energy access. And then now, let's take a country like Nigeria, who are heavy on oil and gas, Ghana as well. It is going to be difficult to tell a country like Nigeria to change all their thermal plants into renewable energy. Now that has become the challenge. Africa feels that now they have to find a way to industrialize first before they think about probably moving into the clean energy and then the other stuff. And also when you look at historically, Africa has contributed regarding these climate issues less than 5% of these climate issues as well.
Yeah.
And then when you look at the global energy consumption, Africa's consumption is about 6%, even though it has about 18% of the world's population.
Well, I'm based in the UK, and it's more and more common to hear about our energy targets as a country, and then globally as well. The US seems to have mixed feelings about where they're going with their energy mix. But in the UK, it's been very like, we've got targets, we want to decarbonize, we're going to do it now. What does creating a realistic timeline for the energy transition in Africa look like? Understanding where the continent finds itself now in this cultural moment.
For Africa, Africa needs a hybrid approach at the moment. We need our traditional sources, the oil and gas, to help industrialize. We also need the renewable energies. Now, this is the dynamics. Let's take the traditional sources, the oil and gas, and then the other stuff. Usually, when you look at some of these heavy industries, it's going to be difficult to get renewable energy to push them. You need to look at factors. We have abundance of sun, that is good, but then the sun has its own setbacks. One challenge, an example, is feeding the energy into the grid. Let's take a scenario. You have a grid system, you have your solar. There are a lot of fluctuations. So if you feed your solar energy into the grid, you are going to have what we call automatic frequency load shedding, AFLS, because it's going to affect the frequency a little bit. That might end up in taking of heavy loads. So these are some of the bottlenecks that has to be resolved, even when it comes to the renewable energy stuff as well. So going heavily might be difficult. So with the renewable energies, we might want to look at targeting rural areas like mini grids, like what the Kenyans, the Rwandans, and then the others are doing. We push that to the mini grids to increase the energy access. But we also need our traditional sources, the oil and gas, for industrialization. Here's a peek to this. So we can make our traditional sources sustainable. Let's take oil and gas through carbon capture technology. If we're able to invest a lot into carbon capture, we can keep the oil and gas for now and invest heavily into the carbon capture technology. You produce 1 ton of carbon content, it captures the 1 ton. And there's even other ways of going around it. When you take a country like Ghana, the energy transition plan, any industry that is releasing carbon content, you are forced to plant a number of trees. So if you produce 1 ton, the trees takes that 1 ton. So we have to find a way to make those traditional sources sustainable through carbon capture technologies and then the other stuff. But we also have to keep an eye on the renewable energy, which is very important, because when you look at some of this increasing of energy access, waiting for power plants that might take years to come.
Right. Yep.
You can just go mini grids and then they are going to be able to power their lights, the street lights, their phones, watch TV, get internet, and all the other stuff. So we need a hybrid approach.
How do you, I guess, navigate the challenges of interest and like approval from all stakeholders, from local communities up to the government level? Because obviously they're going to have different values and priorities when it comes to energy.
We have to be able to think differently at the moment, and also some of the strategies we have now, we have to revisit them and then find a way to make it useful. So it is not a narrative about who is benefiting now. Is it the government or is it somebody's interest? Now we have to take the interests of the country, the continent, the people. What is going to benefit the country? What is going to benefit the continent? What is going to benefit the world as a whole? And what is going to benefit the people? The decentralized system has its own pros that has to do with making it very much more accessible to people. And then also there will not be monopoly, when you have a system where it's only one government-owned company that produces, they can just increase the price without consulting people.
Yeah.
But when you have, and let's say when you have a system where the distribution are about 2 or 3 and there's competition, now the pricing is going to be competitive rather than just one monopoly who rise up one day and then increases tariffs or prices.
Yep.
So the decentralization, even from the government point, is good. We need to diversify. First of all, even diversifying the system. Let's not tie it to just hydro or even thermal, but let's diversify it. The generation sector has to be diversified.
Okay.
And then the transmission as well, and the distribution. We need to also encourage private partnership as well to be able to get some of the private sectors to come on board, and also increase competition. Yeah, so decentralizing even from the government through the various value chains is very good. That would help increase competition and also make it more open for business people to come in and then help. And it also increase investment as well.
So when we're talking about energy in Africa today, all of this kind of your take on it is coming from ASEC. Can you unpack for us what Africa Sustainable Energy Centre as a think tank is doing to solve these problems?
Yeah, so the African Sustainable Energy Centre, it's our mission is pioneering sustainable energy solutions across Africa. We believe it is time that the continents have a different narrative. Let's take one aspect, energy access. When you look at the UN Sustainable Development Goal 7, it talks about affordable and clean energy. And then we look at a continent where almost 40% do not have access to electricity. We shouldn't just take it that it is not electricity that is not available. It has a social and economic impact. The power not being available means that a chunk of the GDP is going off. We are not being able to make more revenue. And then also the power not being available means people are feeling uncomfortable. So let's take an example. When electricity goes off, we take a country like Ghana. Last year, the minister mentioned that we had 2% of our GDP as a result of power outages. And this is a case where the energy access of Ghana is about 90%. 90% of Ghanaians has access to electricity.
Okay.
And the reliability was about 90%, which is good. And a country like this, with a reliability of about 90%, had 2% of our GDP lost as a result of power outages. Just imagine a country like Malawi that has just about 20% energy access. Look at a country like Sierra Leone, like Liberia, that also in their 20s. Just imagine a chunk of their GDP that is going to the drain. This is not even as a result of power not being available or even erratic supply. The percentage I mentioned was a matter of electricity access being available, but then reliability not too good. That's even about 90%. And then talk about a country where there's no electricity at all. So this is one of the issues where Africa, there's a lot of poverty within the continent as well. So this is what ASEC is trying to push. We need to change the narrative. It's not a matter of electricity not being available anymore. It is a matter of economic impact of it, and it's a matter of social impact of it. Let me chip this in. So when your power goes off, according to Baker's theory, you don't just feel uncomfortable. Maybe you go home, you're feeling uncomfortable, and then the others. But then 1 hour of power outage is equivalent to 1 hour of productivity. So that is what we have to know. Yeah, so this is what the ASEC wants to present to the various governments. It is not a matter of power going up. This is a state of emergency. We have to develop a state of emergency on Africa to go head on and tackle this electricity and then power issues that we are having on the continent. So that is what ASEC seeks to do, to bring out the relevance of it, how much we are losing, relevant stakeholders to know how much we are losing, and also to be able to target where we have to target to make sure that we have power available. So we are working on a number of frameworks. We have the Sustainable Energy Access Framework, for example, that is looking at how Morocco is able to reach. Morocco in the year 1996 had only 18% of energy access. In 2024, they have almost 100% energy access. Malawi has just about 20%. Nigeria has 60%. So how can the countries that are not performing too well learn from a model like Morocco? So this is a blueprint that the African Sustainable Energy Center has put together, and we call it the Sustainable Energy Access Framework. to be able to learn from homegrown solutions. We also have the Sustainable Oil and Gas Framework to be able to give it to the various countries. We are working on that together with the African Petroleum Producers Organization, APO, to develop the Sustainable Oil and Gas Framework, how we are going to invest into carbon captures and then other stuff to be able to make our traditional sources useful. We have the Sustainable Renewable Energy Framework as well, on how we can transition completely into renewable energy as well. There's a sustainable e-mobility as well. Electric vehicles has their own setbacks, but we've developed a way on how to make e-mobility sustainable on the continent. And there's a sustainable clean cooking framework as well. There's also a sustainable coal and then a number of sustainable energy and climate resilience frameworks that the center has developed and is currently working with partners. As I mentioned, the African Petroleum Producers is one partner. And then we are also discussing with some high level partners to see how we can implement them. We believe the African solution can only be solved the African way. So how are we going to learn from the best practices on the continent to be able to learn from each other, cross-learning references, and then get homegrown solutions, find a way to get homegrown investments to be able to push our energy access. Even from now, that 40% gap, we should be able to, within the next 10, 20 years, be inching towards universal energy access. And we think it's possible. That is why we have developed the frameworks for government and then international bodies to look at and then to be able to help implement on the continent. That is what the African Sustainable Energy Center has done at the moment.
When you're looking at those case studies of phenomenal energy access growth from previous decades, you mentioned other surrounding areas. How do you take the right bits of what they did? With those frameworks, what are you looking at specifically to try and copy and paste?
In the frameworks, one of the things that we did was to have a SWOT analysis of all the 54 African countries. We look at their strengths, we look at their weaknesses, we look at their opportunities, and then their threats. We had an index to be able to mark whether they are high performing, medium performing, or low performing countries. And we tie those to their own set targets.
Okay.
So let's say Nigeria set a target of reaching, let's say 10%, let's say Ghana set a target of reaching 10% renewable energy access by 2030. And in the year 2025, the last time I checked, it's about 2%. So that is a low performing. So set it to indices to be able to categorize it.
Yeah.
And then after that, we look at the strengths. What are their threats? What are the opportunities?
Mm-hmm.
So based on that, when we go and then pick a template from another African country to bring it to you, we analyze your threats, we analyze your opportunities, we analyze your weakness, and then we streamline it to fit a country. Yeah, we believe each country is peculiar because of the political dynamics, even the people, the attitudinal nature of the people, and even how they accept new things. So, but because we've done this analysis, we are able to fine-tune it to fit each country. So that is the strategy and the approach that we are using. And then it's actually being put together as the ASEC Energy Outlook. To be the first edition is going to come out summer this year. That's the ASEC Energy Outlook this year, and then subsequent ones will also follow.
Excellent. Who are you looking to pick that up and kind of implement it?
So it is for governments.
Okay.
The various African governments. It is for the international organizations,
Mm-hmm.
the World Bank, the United Nations, the African Union, the global players who matters. Yeah, so it's for governments and then the global players who matters.
How do you sort of envisage ASEC supporting those groups, as well as kind of providing a template, if you will? What does it look like to kind of be along their side in the process?
Yeah, so we have provided a blueprint or a roadmap through the frameworks. And then ASEC is also available to help with the implementation. Now, this is how ASEC is built. We believe Africa mostly talks about brain drain. That is an instance where we have Africans going out to build other countries.
Right.
Now we believe in a system called brain gain. How about we tap into the knowledge of Africans who've built other countries? The Africans working at the top companies, the Amazons, the Googles, the Microsofts, building those countries. How do we create a platform for them to contribute? So in ASEC, we have something that we call the tank of ideas.
Okay.
Anyone can contribute, and then we see it and then see how we can implement it. And also, we most of our people, we try to get the top, or what the French say, the creme de la creme. So we have the Ivy League guys over there. We have the guys from MIT, those who have worked in this top institution. So if you've been able to build these countries, being able to build, being part of processes, implementations, to be able to build some of this stuff, you should be in a position to also drop ideas and help the continent move into prosperity, right? So ASEC is also, aside providing the framework, we have the expertise to also help with the implementation, advisory, and then anyhow it can be possible. At the end of the day, we brought a blueprint. The government should be able to follow through, but we're also available to help with the implementation phase as well.
In the same way that sort of in software development, you might go through sprints of kind of iterating on your product. How with your frameworks do you intend to make them so that they can evolve as they need to along the way?
Our approach we are taking is an agile approach, not a waterfall. So the agile approach is in a way that it to keep iterating. Yeah, we keep iterating it based on factors, including political factors, influence as well. We have local and external influences, even dynamics, things that changes. So it is an agile process. We also allow other people to make input to it, but then it is an iterative process until it is perfect for whoever picks it up and then wants to implement it. So it is not a waterfall project. It's an agile project.
Brilliant. Can we explore the relationship between ASEC and the World Energy Council? Is there some level of overlap there, or is it just a personal kind of commitment from you to be in both organizations?
Yeah, so the World Energy Council, maybe let me just talk a little about
Sure.
my journey.
Yeah.
So I got involved with the World Energy Council in the year 2017. Yeah, a colleague introduced me to it. He had been picked as a future energy leader. And then he was like, am I interested? I was like, hey, yeah. So the World Energy Council was starting. They wanted to start a future energy leaders program in Ghana.
Yeah.
And I was interested. So yeah, I got involved. And then I was part of the task force together with William. William was leading that team.
Brilliant.
And then we were able to launch it in August 2017. And I acted as the national vice president till now. And then in 2021, I got selected as a future energy leader. Usually the World Energy Council picks, I think, the top, depending on the year, about 100 energy professionals across the world.
Okay, yeah.
But then each year we have about just a number leaving. So I think my time was about 43 of us who were picked. And then I led a visionary project. The visionary project predicts what is going to happen in the energy sector from 2021 to 2050. So myself and Professor Olga, she is now a deputy state, I think, secretary for Latvia, and then also Guillaume, he is a consultant as well. So we led that project to be able to predict what is going to happen from 2021 to 2050 in the energy sector. After leading that project, yes, I got onto the board, selected onto the World Energy Council's board, the Future Energy Leaders. So on the board, I serve as a gatekeeper for the Future Energy Leaders project, and currently I'm leading the FEL African initiative, where we are trying to build something sustainable and a very long-lasting initiative for Africa, which I'm leading at the moment. Yeah, so that is basically about my journey at the World Energy Council. But hey, the World Energy Council's vision now is humanizing energy.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, so we are looking at energy changing narrative from the production bits to the demand sector. So energy, we have the production and the demand. We are looking at now paying more attention into the demand. Now, the utilities can't just wake up and increase electricity prices. we have something coming up strongly called the social licensing. So we are coming to a point where you cannot just run a power line. You have to have a social contract with the people. So this is some of the input you made in the visionario, that future business models has to grow their businesses if they want to be sustainable in the energy system. If government wants to be sustainable, they should use this approach, humanizing energy. And the African Sustainable Energy Center also believes in that. We believe energy at the moment has to be humanized rather than just focusing on the production bit. So yeah, we buy into that idea as well. So that is one of the interlocks between the African Sustainable Energy Center and the World Energy Council.
I remember looking at the World Energy Council's website and seeing the kind of key themes of digitalization, democratization, decarbonization, and I think there's two others I can't remember. Humanizing energy can feel quite fluffy to someone that doesn't know the science of it and doesn't know the economics of it like you do. So using, I guess, those themes of kind of digitalization, democratization, and so on, how does that systemize and kind of get built, if you will?
So when we talk about humanization energy, let me even fix it into the visionary that we did. Yeah. So now energy is going to move from the narrative of economic growth, of GDP, to human beings. It's going to be human-centric. It's going to be around social progress, around human happiness. So the humans or the people are going to take center stage within the energy play now, taking it from technology, from technology and innovations, from policy and governance, from the humanizing bit, the environmental bit that we talk about, and even business models. Now all these sectors has to be heavy on the human bit of it to be able to be sustainable. So that is what the humanizing energy is seeking to bring out. That hey, this is what the energy sector is at the moment, and in the next decades, in the next 50 years, in the next century, this is the direction that is going. So we have to pay attention to this. The other international organizations like the Energy Perspectives, the IEA, when you look at IRENA, most of their narratives sink within, they also validate that energy is going to be humanized. Yeah. So that is how powerful the team of the World Energy Council is, and then all the other international organizations. When you read their outlook, as I mentioned, from the Energy Perspectives, from the IRENA, and then IEA, they are all saying the same thing, talking the same narrative. So that validates exactly what the World Energy Council is standing for and then is pushing.
Brilliant. What are some of the ongoing activities that ASEC's running?
At the moment, the African Sustainable Energy Center, we have the ASEC internship program. Last year, we brought in about 50 interns across the world.
Fantastic.
Across Africa, from Kenya, from Uganda, from Nigeria, Ghana, even from the US. We had one person from the University of Pennsylvania. And also, there have been some students from Imperial College, London, who have reached out. And this year, we have promised to give the students who reached out at least 5 slots in the at Imperial College. Yeah, so we have the yearly ASEC internship program. They come, they work on projects for 3 months. We give them another 3-month extension. We will give them another 2 months, and then from this July, we'll call for the next cohort. So the internship program is running. We also have the African Energy Review, which is a monthly newsletter head starting May 2025. And then, of course, the African Sustainable Energy Outlook, which will also be published in June this year, 2025. And then also we have the African Sustainable Energy Dialogue.
Yes.
Coming off 16th of May. That is the webinar edition. And in later part of this year, we are looking at either December or October. December or October or maybe November, we are going to have the in-person one in Accra, Ghana. On the 16th of May, we are having the webinar edition. The speakers that we are looking at are people, we want to keep it as high level as possible.
Yeah.
So you should have led a national agenda or a global agenda to be a speaker on it. Currently, we have two speakers from Nigeria, Professor Emeritus Abubakar Sambo, who was a former advisor to the President of Nigeria on Energy, and he's also a former Director General for the Nigerian Energy Commission. We have His Excellency Dr. Umar Farouk Ibrahim, who is the Secretary General for the African Petroleum Producers Organization. From Ghana, we chose two people. We have Mr. Quickfire Curiosity, who is the board chair for the United Bank of Africa, Ghana, and also former executive vice president for Talu Oil PLC. And then we have Dr. Alfred Ofusua-Henkra, who is a former executive secretary for the Ghana Energy Commission. We also have two people from Morocco, that is Noruddin. And then also we have Sir Brian Emram, who is also a board member at the World Energy Council. And then we have a central person as well as Central Africa, Monique Muti, who is a senior project manager at the African Development Bank Group. And then the Southern, we have Kate Ketura, who will be the moderator for the event. And also there's one from the East Africa as well. So the representative spread across the continent. We have the North, the Western, the East, the Central, and the South. We are trying to keep it high level as much as possible. So that is it about the African Sustainable Energy Dialogue. Yeah.
Those are some impressive credentials. What's the end objective with the dialogue event? What do you want to achieve?
Yeah, so the theme of the dialogue is bridging Africa's energy access gap, challenges, innovations, and path forward. So this approved and tested experts are going to make inputs historically, the now, the innovations you are supposed to do, and the path forward. And when they are done, we are going to put up a white paper together. We are going to send it to the various governments and also send it to relevant bodies and who matters to be able to see some of the inputs that has been made from this giants on the African energy sector to be able to implement some of the ideas that they are going to throw at the dialogues that we are going to have. So that is what we are going to do with the input that they are going to give. We are going to give it to governments, give it to relevant stakeholders who matters to be able to implement and help us bridge the African energy access gap that we are having on the continent at the moment.
We're going to wrap up with what we call Quickfire Curiosity, which is our series of short trivia questions to kind of dig a bit deeper into you as a character and a human being. First of which being, would you consider yourself a futurist?
Okay, let me ask a question here first. When you say that, you mean just being futuristic, not thinking about it now? Or what do you mean by that?
This is what everybody says, and I love it. I actually want to leave it open-ended, as usual, and say, I want you to give me the definition of futurist and then tell me if you fit in that box.
Okay, so how I understand what you are saying is someone who thinks ahead. So in Ghana, we have one school called Infancy Film School who has their motto called Dwen Shekai. It means think ahead. So if I understand you, as someone who pays attention to the now, what is supposed to be done now, and also has a foresight of what is supposed to be done in the future. So I'll consider myself as somebody like that. I believe in living in a moment. Nobody knows what is going to happen in the future. So you live in a moment. You give it your all. In the meantime, you keep an eye on what is going to happen in the future. I believe in future, leaving the world better than we met it. I always say the younger generations who come after us will not forgive us if we don't get it right. When it comes to something like this climate action that we are fighting, if we don't get it right, now we look at the global warming, we see what is happening, the shift in agriculture and all the other stuff. If we don't do anything about it and stop this global emissions and stuff that we are doing to deteriorate the world, the generations who come after us would never forgive us. And then even, yes, I'm a Christian. The Bible says that a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. So that is a principle that I try to live by. Then now I try to also leave something for those who come after me so that they will be better off than myself. I always say that when I went to University of Pennsylvania, I grew up from Ghana, coming straight to an Ivy League university. That was first generation. Now my children, if there's anything called legacy admissions, now they can benefit from that. I didn't have that, so I had to go head on, write a lot of publications, have global relevance to be able to be accepted into the Ivy League institution, whose acceptance rate is just about 7%. Now I've been able to cross that. I'm now not leaving the door closed. I'm leaving it open. So those who come after me, not even just my children, even Africans, to be able to see the story that where I grew up from the streets of Accra, being able to come to the top, to the Ivy League. And when I was at Penn, I was selected as a board member of my department. So also leaving that door that, hey, the African growing up from Ghana, from Nigeria, from Uganda, from Sierra Leone, or wherever you find yourself, you can make it to the top. And when you get to the top, you can also play at the top. It's not just about getting to the Ivy League. You get there, you get appointed to serve as a board member of your department. You grow up in Africa, that you are less privileged, you can get to the World Energy Council. And when you get to the World Energy Council, you don't stop there. You get appointed to the board member at the Future Energy Leaders Program, where now you become a gatekeeper. So these are some of the things that, by the grace of God, God has passed through us to be able to do. And now we are telling the African, the boy who doesn't have electricity in Liberia, that, hey, it is possible.
Yeah, I love that story, kind of taking the entrepreneurial drive and then to reach a point, not so that you can hoard or keep the gate shut for others, but actually to then change the system and give more opportunity to people that were in a similar situation to you. Absolutely love it. For people that are at a turning point in their career or in their education that want to be kind of in the climate tech space or in sustainability, what questions would you encourage them to ask themselves to spot the best opportunities?
Analyze themselves as a people, as a human being. They should go deep within themselves. That what would they want to see better in their environment? You know, Mother Teresa said something. There was a man who went to him and then was saying, I'm going to save the world. And then what he told Mother Teresa is that, you know what? Everybody should go home. Save your homes. And we are going to have a saved world.
Start with the nuclear and work out.
Exactly, right. Yeah. So just look at your environment. What would you like to change? And then based on that, start working on it. And then with that, I'm sure you'll be able to develop something. It might be about an irrigation system in your community. It might be about power not being available. It might be about several, maybe a waste that has to be turned into a more sustainable way. So look around you. What are some of the challenges that are around you? What are some of the things that you want to change? What do you want to be remembered for? If you should fall off today, what do you want them to say about you? So these are some of the things that should be the drive for us to pursue whatever I want to pursue. And with this, what I can say is that when you are done and you start working, you work the whole of your life without working. You won't be frustrated because you're going to enjoy whatever you're doing. You will not find yourself in a space where you don't have the passion for. When you do whatever you love, you work your entire life without working.
Yeah. Do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Exactly, yeah.
If you could speak to your younger self, it sounds like you kind of already proverbially are through your attitude towards helping people that were in a similar situation to you. What would you say to them, that young man? What would you say?
Yeah, so what I'll say to the young justice Ohene-Akoto will be to do more. Yeah, I believe there's still room for improvement. So whatever he was doing, he should do a double of it. Yeah, to do more, basically helping, saving, helping as much as possible. In this world, that is what really happens. You see, he who waters shall be watered. So serve people. Everything I have done, and this is to the young ones. It is not just a matter of being rich overnight. It is not a matter of being paid for everything that you want to do. Sometimes, or most of the time, volunteer. Do things voluntarily. With the World Energy Council, it has been voluntarily. So volunteer for people. You don't always have to be paid. And then whatever you put your hands on, do it with all your mind, do it with all your heart, do it well. And if you really do it well, he like as the Bible says, he who waters shall be watered. Yeah, for that I can assure everyone, I can assure the young ones, it's not just about money. Do it right with all your heart, and then the universe will smile on you.
Justice, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me today. This is an area of the energy narrative that we haven't gone into yet on the show, and I've loved every minute of it. So thank you for chatting to me today. I'm looking forward to following the journey.
Thank you too. Yeah, thanks for having me. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning into today's discussion with Justice. It's been a real pleasure to learn about his career story and his real passion and conviction when it comes to making a real impact, not just in technology and infrastructure in Africa, but for the communities that reside there as well. If you click the link to my right, you can tune into more episodes of CleanTalk and content from Harmer Visuals, and we will see you very shortly in the next episode. Bye for now.